The multiverse. I am your host, Caboose,
And your host, Zero.
and we are joined today with our special guest, Shaggy Streaming. Shaggy, it is so amazing to have you here finally. We have talked numerous times about having you on said podcast, and to finally have you on here, despite I know some nerves that you and I have talked about beforehand, I hope you're excited to be here and have a fantastic time with us.
Thanks, guys. I'm definitely excited to be here.
So, Shaggy, how we usually do our stuff, we do our intro like we just did. We introduced you, and we're just going to go straight into our next thing, which is you tell us about how you got into the nerd culture and how that kind of culture has impacted you in your own way growing up.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
Yeah.
Beyond that. Beyond that.
It happens with all our guests, man. So,
well, the first thing you're gonna have to know about my getting into nerd culture, I was very sheltered as a child, very religious family. So to give you an idea, I wasn't allowed to play Pokemon because it promoted evolution. So Christian school, Christian family, and then I got introduced to Pokemon at a young age, and I even had to do this many hours of Bible study, play this many hours of Pokemon. It became fudge half an hour, play 6 hours. And just growing up through that, my mom saw that this wasn't going to stop, and we got a PlayStation 1. My family stopped playing it after about 4 months because I could beat them with only one hand on the controller. Yeah. And just from there, it continued. You know what I mean? It became, what's the next latest and greatest thing? And then I found out that PC gaming was a thing. At that point in time, controllers couldn't go on computers, but I just found this world that no matter how I was feeling or who I was at that time, I could escape into that universe. And that's how I discovered gaming. As far as nerd culture, I think it was just a little bit pre-high school that I discovered anime, manga. Like, I didn't know those things existed. That's exactly how sheltered I was. I had no idea. Even though my family tried as they could, didn't like the content that I was getting from said media, it became just this world that I could engross myself in. Like, so I basically took the linear steps going from reading a lot of books to playing video games and seeing that art style, and then becoming a fan of anime and manga, and it just took off from there. Like, it's become a now 17-year obsession. Like, there's not been a time when I haven't had video games or computers on the brain. So that's kind of how I got started on it. It just started as little baby steps and just became this crazy thing that it is today.
Okay. Real quick, Shaggy, or one of you guys, I think we're getting an echo back still. One of the guys has told us real quickly, so it might be Shaggy. It might be something on your end with the mic again.
Okay. Because didn't we have the issue before with it being from
and you switched it through for your webcams.
Yeah, so let me try and swap the source again. Back to well, that's UAC microphone.
Man, session 7.
Can you still hear me? Did that get rid of the?
Yeah, we can still hear you perfectly fine, buddy.
I'm trying my different interfaces here. I don't know. That there seems to be a different UAC mic. Is that working? Is there echo?
I'm not sensing anything wrong with the force.
Nope. If you guys aren't hearing the echo, then we are golden right now.
I haven't heard it so far, so.
It works, but it sounds like a tunnel. So Hawk says it sounds better, so we're golden.
Okay, cool.
Nothing wrong with a little tunnel.
Yeah, nothing wrong
You
with
might throw a hot dog down the
as
hallway,
long as we're
but,
not getting the echo. That's all that matters. But no, it is Shaggy. It's just interesting to hear you talk about growing up in that way. that with the religious family, it's always interesting to hear it from those type of families growing up because they're all completely different of what they uh, do. I had a friend I grew up next door with that he Pokemon was perfectly fine, Yu-Gi-Oh was fine, and Digimon, but he was a hardcore Christian family, and they would not let him watch Harry Potter because of all the sorcery.
Interesting, because I was actually the exact opposite.
It is interesting because exactly that. You would assume Pokemon with all of that and Digimon with all the evolution and all the themes behind it that it would change stuff um, and be somewhat similar, but no, it was a little bit different. So it's kind of interesting to see, your mom. You said your mom that would realize you can't stop that, so you might as well just kind of let them slowly enjoy it. But I'm assuming in a way she watched kind of at how much you took in.
She tried to. I was a I was a sneaky little devil. So I think at one point she's just like, might as well roll with it.
And that's
So they kind of like just let you do your thing.
Yeah. I think she kind of got to the point where it's like, well, if it's not hurting anything and he's not doing anything bad, might as well just let it go.
And
Yeah,
I have to say I love the fact that inevitably the backgrounds of people, they started to realize that there's a lot of, is it really doing any harm to our values that what we grew up with, and you put it in comparison, does it really change anything? Like my
Yeah.
buddy with Harry Potter, his mom finally sat down and watched it because I have to watch it and to see if it's okay, and she watched it and goes, I don't
Mm-hmm.
see why this was bad.
Yeah.
And it's why we always ask the guests kind of what got you into the culture and how it's kind of changed it, because each person we talk to does have a different story behind everything. With you, with the background, mine, well, I said it before, mine was just kind of escape from mom and dad were divorced, and that was just my escape from reality, and I ended up meeting friends. I met Zero because of that. Zero was, I think, just the same way Saturday morning cartoons for him, though, when he just kind of fell into the pit.
Yeah, it was that's pretty much it. I watched a Saturday morning cartoon of Pokemon one day. Next thing you know, I'm getting a gift of Pokemon Gold, which was my first ever video game, and then it just went from there.
But so Shaggy, I would like to ask, with that, how it got you into that. Uh, has the nerd culture itself kind of impacted you? Obviously, I've met you from a streamer, so I know that it's led
Yeah.
you into being a streamer in its own way. But has it changed how? I know you said you had little ones. Did it change how you let them experience the nerd culture compared to how you were when you were that age?
That's a very good question. Having a daughter that's on the spectrum, I have to be very micromanaging on what she intakes. But I would have to say, compared to the way I was raised, like if my kid comes up to me, actually, my oldest is a huge anime fan, and I 100% promote it because I'm just like, this has been something in my life that had no negative effect. Like I'm not going out and robbing banks because I watched, High Rise Invasion. You know what I mean? It had no negative, so it's like to me, it's a safe medium for kids. Like if they don't want to read, they can explore all these new worlds, at their leisure. And in the tech age that we're in now, if you tell them no, they're going to do it anyways. You know what I mean? And to me, I see no negative to it.
Yeah.
And see, I could agree with you in a way too with your stories and about your kids. Is like I don't read. I maybe finished 2 books my whole life, but my stories I read are games. I love the visuals. I love learning about the stories, and I learned a lot from that. You can learn just as much from that as you can from reading. It's just that with these, you actually see what's happening too.
Well, the other thing too, that kind of brought me into being such a big video game fan, and this is not to detract anything from manga or anime, but with video games compared to more linear storytelling, you can play even a story game, even though the story and the parameters of which you're playing are the same, you can do it 1,000 different ways with 1,000 different outcomes.
Mhm.
Like you get to drive that story to an extent in the direction that you want to go. And to me, that was amazing. Like I got to see this insane visual media and be able to control it. You know what I mean? To have my part in that story. I always thought that was really cool.
Yeah, like writing your own book. Like my wife imagines herself to be the main character in any story she reads, but she has to follow that narrative. Whereas a video game, you can imagine yourself as the main character, but you make the decisions.
Correct.
See, I would just be bad at that point because when I play video games, it gives me the option to be bad. I'm just going straight that route. Like the first time I played Dragon Age, my buddy goes,
typical gamer.
Yeah, my buddy goes, it was either Dragon Age. Oh no, it was Mass Effect. He goes, all right, cool. There's a good path and there's a bad path. Tell me what you do. Okay. No, it was Dragon Age. I come back to him the next day. He goes, what do you think so far? I fucked everything up. There's nothing good that has come out of this. Everyone is dead. He goes, what did you do? And I told him. He goes, why would you choose the most evilest paths? I'm like, I didn't think people would die. I think they would just guilt me in the stuff.
That's kind of like the good and evil system that was in Fable 2 when I was introduced to something like that. Took the evil path, shit died. I regret it.
That's what I was going to say. Actually, it reminded me a lot of Fable, and that game, there was no one left alive.
No. You know what's funny is a buddy of mine. He goes, it's like, yeah, I married this person, but I wanted her out so I could put a new wife in a house. But I divorced her, but she stole everything. What do I do? I go, dude, you did it the hard way. He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, you just kill the wife, you get your house back, you keep the kids. He goes, that's awful. I go, it's a video game, it's not real life.
That's terrible, but that's funny.
But it worked. It worked, and I kept half of my gold.
Hey,
you kept all mine.
Well, I spent a lot of stuff on really pointless things. In any game.
Like you do in real life.
Yeah. I mean,
I was going to say, at this age, has that changed for any of us, really?
No, I like to tell...
I just spent some money on some frivolous shit, too.
I like to tell my kid, my son, you know, he goes, well, Dad, you're supposed to be an adult. Why are you buying kid stuff? I go, it's simple. Because now I have adult money to buy kid stuff.
If you guys could see the amount of Nerf guns I have in this house, it's a problem.
Oh, my kid's room has all of it. Him and his uncle like to have Nerf wars, man. There's one, yeah. I wish it wasn't an April Fool's joke, but they made a, do you ever see that video of that Nerf nuke that someone made a video of? That was just the ball that had like 150 darts in it. You set a timer. It hits something, it shoots them all at once.
No!
And I wish it was real, but it was an April Fool's joke. Because like, I would have bought like 5 of those. 5 of those, just load them up, have the nurse fight, just toss them outside. And it's like, all right, go nuts.
Yeah, that's when you have the wife on the porch. Get her megaphone. Tactical nuke inbound. Like, that'd be so much fun.
Talking about blowing stuff up, my freaking boss at work the other day gave me one of those flare guns and he let me shoot it. I hit a freaking seagull and it went... Yeah, it was by accident. Wasn't aiming.
Hit a seagull.
See, that
yeah, I mean, I work in a landfill. They're like rodents, man.
See, that's as bad as me. I get told was like, I finally shoot a gun when I was younger. And it was a neighbor next to my grandparents' house. He brings a shotgun over. He goes, all right, here's what you do. Aim straight there. Don't shoot the tree. Got it. Why'd you shoot the tree? Because you told me to shoot straight, not turn.
Let me tell you something. You tell him not to do it, he's going to do it.
Right.
Usually what it is. There's so many stories. Well, Shaggy's played games with us. So Shaggy, you and I have played Fortnite. Zero, if you watch us, 90% of the time, Shaggy's like, let's go this way. What? And I'm all the way on the opposite side of the map.
Well, yeah, because that makes me think of you when you play video games with me or D&D. You're just like, I'm going to go do this, and you're fucking gone. I'm like, we're gonna do this. And I gotta chase you.
But shiny.
Exactly. He's got goblin brain, man. It's shiny. He goes after it.
Oh man.
Well, there's a match that him and I played there, or Shaggy and I played the other day, and he landed like maybe a little bit away from me, and I landed on top of the building. I had like 20 bullets, and Shaggy's like, oh, "I'm coming to you, buddy." I'm like, "I need you now. I need you now." And I get swarmed by like 6 people, and Shaggy goes, "I'm here." I go, "They're dead." I don't know how I did it, but they're dead.
Yeah, I remember that.
Heck, man, when I was playing Elder Scrolls Online in PvP, I accidentally killed the current Emperor at the time. I didn't even know it was him. He had low health. I shot a light attack. Next thing you know, I'm getting an achievement for killing the Emperor. How in the hell?
That's what I'm saying with video games, man. You can't. I mean, you can write that into a story, but like stories like this, they don't exist anywhere else. You know what I mean?
D&D is about it, but even then, D&D is not going to be the same.
Fireball now off the wall.
But I agree. You know, video games give you that chance to escape. Just like with this podcast, we use this to we meet the guests, we get to introduce you guys, our guests, to the world with everything. We get to introduce us as a whole and bring society just kind of bullshit with us for an hour to 2 hours. Just hear us talk about our things and our topics, and that's you're not going to really get that anywhere else. You know, you'll have other podcasts that will talk about the stuff, but to just kind of enjoy the moment versus being too serious on certain things, like we still haven't even gotten to the topic, but we're having a fun time just Zero getting to know you. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and my work hours are so bad. This is the only time I get a chance to get to know people. So I'm doing my best. I'm not that great at peopling, but I do what I can.
And yet, I'm dragging him to work a convention, Shaggy.
You're not.
It is called.
You're not necessarily dragging.
Oh, I'm dragging you. We are going to work Anime Central. It is the third biggest anime convention in the United States. I think fifth biggest in the Midwest.
Dang.
Yep, I used to work security at it for years. I stepped away for a while, and then we're coming back to a restructured. We're on a restructured department now, so his first convention to work it is going to be this one.
Okay.
So let me tell you something, Mr. Reconstructed. Why not tell some of our fans where it's at, and maybe if we're lucky, run into one or two of them.
ASIN is in Chicago, or Rosemont, Illinois, about 30 minutes from downtown Chicago. It's at the Donald E. Convention Center. Very fun conventions every year, and it's an absolute blast. I believe this year that they said they're doing bringing in Japanese voice actors that worked on a lot of the animes, so you get a chance to meet them.
Let me tell you something. I'm giggling like a schoolgirl.
Oh, I have no doubt.
And there's if I remember correctly, and I have verified it, unless something has changed in the past like week, 90% of the time at ASIN, the autographs are free.
Oh, that would be cool.
Your only trade-off is lines. But they move pretty quickly, and they're really fun to meet the people.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And since we do line control, that'll be a lot of fun.
He's upset. He got moved to day shift, and I got requested to be on the completely opposite spectrum of the shifts. If you can't tell,
you're going to be doing nights? Oh, he's dripping with excitement.
Well, see, we're getting way off subject here, but I wanted to work the first one alongside him so I could learn the ropes from somebody who's done this for a very long time and that I know personally, because I'm more comfortable that way. If I'm learning from someone I don't know, like a lot of people. You're very antisocial. You don't know how to act around this person. You don't know if you should be yourself because yourself might offend them. I mean, I'll be a nervous Nelly.
But I haven't.
Hey, I know what that feels like.
I haven't told you the news that would at least cheer you up, though. You get to go to the rave, and you were having the hottest DJ raves from Japan coming this year.
Yeah.
We're having synergy, baby. Synergy.
Don't you dare record me dancing, I swear. Don't you dare.
Zero. So if you are Shaggy, if you get a video the weekend of May 20th, you'll understand what it is.
Okay.
Oh no.
I'm gonna make that my new sub clip.
Yeah. Well, it's just a little exclamation zero, and we'll just show him dancing.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like the Tobey Maguire dance from Spider-Man 3.
Get enough booze in him,
Oh
I can make that
no.
dance happen.
Oh no.
So Shaggy,
Okay.
Yes.
to get back on topic, um, why don't you tell us a few things in the nerd culture that are in your top, I'd say top five that are your absolute go-to? Because I know
Would you
anime is
say
obviously one of them.
okay?
Yeah, like
Uh,
I'd say top five favorite things within there that you're always going back to. Yeah.
so we're talking about like specific games
Yeah,
or
it could be in
anime.
in
Yeah.
anything in the
Anything you
culture of
want.
nerd. It could be anything.
Well, you guys already know the overarching of anime and video games.
Yep.
I'm just gonna name off some of the things. The top. Can I do top five for each?
Sure, if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Sure,
Yeah.
okay.
Go right ahead, man.
Video games. Number one, always number one. You will not convince me otherwise. The Borderlands franchise. I'm a huge fan. Wife's a huge fan. It's right there with number two. One and two are kind of tied with each other, honestly. Because number two, very close second, would be Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Ooh.
Number three, old school Pokemon, Red and Blue.
What? Oh, red and blue. Are you talking about yellow too, or are you going red and blue only?
I'll take yellow. I'll take yellow. But like that first generation, it was just the core Pokemon. You didn't have to have a thesaurus to know all thousand, however many there are now. Like the story was solid, gameplay was bare bones, elemental types were simple. Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was saying earlier, my first game was Pokemon Gold, so I got introduced to it, next gen, and then I actually went back and played Blue, and in all honesty, yeah, I mean, yeah, the graphics were a little bit less, they're not much less, but I still very much enjoyed it.
Pokemon Crystal was my first, so I was in the same generation that you were.
Red and blue were my first. Big old
Yeah,
fat
no,
Game Boy.
I'd go back to try those out. Fourth, this is kind of a, if you guys know this game, I'll be very very thrilled. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. It
Yes.
was on the GameCube.
Yes.
It
Yes.
sounds very
that
familiar, but I never played it.
Love that game. I spent hours in the chat there. Hours. And then fifth game, I might have to reorder these, but you know what? They flow so easily because they're all different consoles and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But within the top five, Titanfall 2. Absolutely.
Ah, finally another Titanfall player.
Hashtag Titanfall 3.
Hashtag
I know they
Titanfall
won't do it.
3.
I know they won't do it.
Oh,
But
I know.
Anyways.
I hope.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I hope we see an announcement for it. They said there's been something being worked on for it, and that it's just overdue. Bring out Titanfall 3.
There's so many different games that they're just quote unquote working on. I don't know what to be excited about first.
Titanfall 3.
The only thing that I'm not, and because they've even announced this, that one of the reasons they're so hesitant on Titanfall 3 is because a lot of people that were on the dev team for 2 are no longer in that division at Respawn. So it's like, what do you want? Do you want a Titanfall 3 that's from a whole bunch of people who might mentally understand the game but weren't there when 1 and 2 were developed? Or do you just want that legacy left alone? I want a 3, but knowing that information, it's like...
Well, I mean, it's the same thing with the Silent Hill 2 remake coming out. The 2 creators of the first game is tagged to it, but it's a whole different team that worked on Layer of Fear. So it's like, we got these people, we're happy, but this is a new team, we don't know what they're gonna do.
Exactly. Exactly.
And sometimes you get scared if they're going to stay true to the material, or if they're going to go, hey, let's put our own spin on it. They might like this.
As long
I
as
hate
I
to
can
say
blow
it,
up
but
buttons.
Borderlands 3.
Yeah, I didn't play much of that.
They just shit all over the lore. And before I go too off topic, because I could talk about that just for hours.
Hmm.
That was my disappointment with 3. Anyways, top 5 anime.
Ooh, bring this baby. I'm ready.
Bring it.
Well, you know Sword Art's in there.
Oh yeah, I know Sword Art's in there.
You can see my background.
Oh yes.
I mean, see if I can dig these really quick so that Zero can see them if you haven't seen them already.
Oh, hold on. I'm grabbing something. I gotta show you too.
I'll be able to see it when the video comes out. I have foam replica swords of Elucidator and Dark Repulsor.
Ah,
I have
the
a sword that's a fusion of the two.
A fusion of the two? Oh, that's actually pretty bad.
Yeah. I'm holding it on screen. I'll wait until it shows up for you.
It will, but I'm making sure I don't have a loop back, so I'll probably watch it.
So he'll see it, Zero.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
See, this is fun to put these in the top 5.
Oh, I do see them. My wife just showed me. Okay. Other animes that I'm. There's so many. God, there's so many. As I said, SAO. I'm gonna say Seven Deadly Sins.
That's a good one.
I'm gonna say. Oh God, it got away from me. Oh no, what is it called? Oh no.
I've
Cowboy
finally
Bebop.
seen the swords.
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop.
And then I would have to say Full Metal Alchemist, both the original and Brotherhood,
Okay.
are absolutely fantastic. And then I was surprised my wife wasn't glaring at me, but you know what? I actually fully enjoyed it. Black Butler.
See, I didn't have a problem with Black Butler, but in all honesty, I could watch a whole series about Grell the whole time. Not gonna lie. I won't lie. I could. CL to me just became like a side note, kind of like in Demon Slayer, that Tanjiro became a side note once you met Inosuke.
Yeah.
I will put.
I could agree.
I know we're talking anime, and I got to put my hand down on this. And to all of you who are watching that listen and have seen Demon Slayer, I'm about to piss you off, or you'll agree with me.
I've never seen it. You're gonna ruin it for me.
It's not. Inosuke should have been the main character of Demon Slayer because Tanjiro had no real development possibilities compared to Inosuke. I will put my hand down, and Shaggy, I see you shaking your head, but let me put this comparison.
I'm rotating back and forth. I'm not actually shaking my head. I'm listening.
Yeah,
I'm hearing my oldest just scream. I'm in shock.
I have to say that because, yes, Tanjiro's whole thing is sister infected demon, try to become that. Slowly gets power-ups, and that's fine. But gets his butt whooped and cries about it. Inosuke, abandoned by mom, stole 2 blades from a dead demon slayer, chiseled them with rock, created his own style, and 90% of the time when they're fighting bosses, he's the one that does the finishing blow, or 90% of the damage.
That's undeniable.
In a Shonen world, that's the main character.
It ought to be anyway.
I had to put that 2 cents in there for Demon Slayer because I piss people off with that comment, but they either agree with me or they hate me for it.
I don't know what to pick. I'm not a big Demon Slayer fan, honestly. So I'll remain neutral.
I will stay true in my heart to the original Big 4. I'll put Granddaddy Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, all that genre, and it will still be Bleach, One Piece, and Naruto for me.
Ooh.
The big 3, baby. I'm sorry. But we don't talk about Boruto because Boruto sucks.
I haven't watched it.
Okay. You know what? If you have to put
Boruto's good. I don't care what you think.
You know what? At least Bleach has had a constant following when they brought back.
Ooh.
I don't know what the following is. I like the show and I'm gonna watch it.
Well, if that's his favorites, that's his favorites. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
all.
I
It's like
I
billions.
I,
It's all subjective.
I love to mess with them. That's been the age old battle though between Bleach and Naruto who would win, and I gotta go Ichigo, man, all the way.
Ichigo.
Nah, Naruto's got this.
All right. So to get back on us with that, because we had our fun little tangents. Yu Yu
All right, we'll
Hakusho.
move into our topic of the show.
Yes. So the topic of the show. I'm gonna say it because I've memorized it to a T, and Shaggy, you laugh about it every time I say it because I memorized it.
I'm going to interrupt you the whole time.
We are going to be talking about Sword Art Online and the VR dive system and the implication of it into today's society. And Shaggy, why don't you go ahead, since this was your topic that you picked, why don't you tell us why you picked it?
Well, the reason I picked this, first off, me and one of my very good friends, shout out to G.I. Joe, we used to sit on his porch and drink for hours and talk about this topic. And it never got old. Whether we were sober or whether we weren't, this was the topic. And we wanted to talk shop, this was it. And so it's something that I've always been very passionate about, and I mean, I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I'd say that I'm fairly knowledgeable about. So that is why I picked this topic.
So I will say, I know you two have watched Sword Art Online.
Hold on. Before you get into this, I'd like to say how I got into Sword Art Online, because Shaggy, when he said that you wanted to talk about this, I instantly, I don't know who this man is, but I love him already. because when I was going through some hard times and I moved out of state, leaving this poor guy behind, I lived with my cousin, and he introduced me to Sword Art Online, and that is one of the animes I will love to this day, because it got me through one of the hardest things in my life I've ever had to go through. And I'm such a big fan of that anime. I've watched everything up until now. I want to rewatch it again because my memory is not the greatest. I'll probably forget a few things along the way. But as soon as he said, "Oh, he wants to talk about Sword Art Online," I'm like, he better be the next podcast.
Zero was, as soon as I told him, he kind of went quiet and he just was absolutely giddy about this. And he goes, "Dude, I've wanted to talk about this. This is one of my favorite animes." And he goes, "Have you watched it?" And I go, "I've watched nothing."
And I was like, "You son of a bitch."
Yeah, he got mad at me because I never watched anything. And I did take a wee bit of a break because I was almost completely done with season 2. I was going to jump into season 3, and I'll savor that to myself. I will say, because the thing came out in 2012, it came out in an interesting time where, I don't know, would you classify Sword Art Online as an isekai?
I'm about to really hit my ignorance right here. I actually do not know what that means.
So isekais are usually classified as transported to another world type of thing. Like you're about to die or you die and you get moved to another world. And since this is kind of like VR and your consciousness is transported there, would you consider this like a technicality isekai?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't think in 2012 there was really that many shows like this in anime. It's for me to go back. That's literally my senior year of high school. I can't think if there was really any big animes like this at the time.
No, I think it was a few years later. If I remember my timelines correctly, anyone who is currently in chat, feel free to check me on my back here. But there are two animes that are very close to it. There's one called Darwin's Game, and there's one called The World Ends With You, which are also, but they stay in reality to an extent. It's more of an AR than a VR, if that makes sense.
Yeah, alternate reality versus virtual reality. Okay, yeah.
This is an anime that's first of its kind, I would say, in its way. There's been a few anime since then that have been like, oh, this is a VR type-ish world, at least.
Yeah, I think that this was the first one to actually address VR, and they didn't just address VR; they addressed, which is some other things I'd like to discuss further on in the podcast. But they addressed the physical, the psychological, the everything, but they didn't do it in a way that was invasive. They did it in a way where it's there, and if you really look at it, I mean, being the fan that I am, I might, looking back, I'm like, oh, all these things were present, but it didn't impact the story at all. Well, it didn't. Excuse me. It did not detract from the story, and I think that there hasn't been anime since it's done what Sword Art had done for anime.
Mm-hmm. And I have to agree with that because 90% of the animes you watch now, what's in the isekai genre, um, uh, you know, they do get moved to a different world. Like one of our guests in their KC is just saying he wouldn't really call it an isekai because they never leave Shibuya or their world. Because usually isekais are like time I got reincarnated as a slime. He died from reality and moved to whatever
Okay.
that world is. So that's like an isekai.
Well,
I still want to put it as a
kind of
technical.
like you're saying, though, it's kind of like a technicality. Yes, it's kind of like a technicality. I agree with Casey. I wouldn't classify it as one, but technicality speaking, you can kind of say it is in a way.
I would have to because I don't think there was much. I don't think the genre of isekai really existed in 2012, and that would be my fact check. Call me on that, but back in 2012, all I can think of is Dragon Ball Z, Sword Art. I think Blue Exorcist started coming out. Bleach, Naruto, Shippuden was out, and I think Code Geass was out around that time too.
Did you just say?
Oh yeah. Oh yes, I did. Oh yes, I did, Shaggy.
Oh, we're
Now
gonna
that
have
did
a
you do
lot
that?
more discussions.
Oh, Shaggy just found out another Code Geass fan. We exist, but we're rare. We're hidden in the shadows.
I haven't
We are
tried
the rebellion.
Oh, Zero. The homework I have for you, buddy. The homework I have.
Oh my God, it's bad enough. I gotta put up an outside light.
So Shaggy, I don't know if you have any do you have any questions? Because I know you said you wanted to talk particularly about season 1 of Sword Art Online.
Yes.
Where would you like to kind of discuss and dissect season 1? And I will say to all of you guys too that we did talk about seasons 2 and 3, but we are looking at trying to keep it in just season 1 for now. We might come back for a season 2 and 3 discussion if Shaggy wants to do that, and we can dissect that, do comparisons. But for now, we're just going to keep it season 1.
Okay, the reason I decided to go season 1 is because it includes both the Einkrad and Alfheim. Did I say that right? Alfheim arcs.
Mm-hmm.
One having the life and death consequences, the other one not. And those two kind of really focus around the nerve gear. You know what I mean? Which is the VR that they use. And the further away that you get from season 1, the less implications you see from the nerve gear usage. And the nerve gear in its original game with Sword Art Online with Einkrad is when you really start seeing the psychological damage to the children that you see throughout subsequent seasons. So it's like, because I didn't want to talk about the psychological part and everything, I thought season 1 would be good because you have the life and death and the not so life and death. I mean, it really depends because Asuna in the second season, I mean, shit, kind of a life and death situation getting married to that dude. You know what I mean? But no. So how do I want to go with this? So I have my little speaking points. If you don't mind me jumping over to those.
Go right on ahead, man.
Do what you need to do, bud. Yeah.
So the first that I would like to propose to you guys is more in the technological realm for it, is how and where the signal interceptors would need to be and how would they interact with the eyes and base of the brainstem. Because originally, when I looked at the technology, I was like, oh, well, wouldn't it be so easy to put like almost like an infrared scanner at the base of your neck and intercept, signals for hands, feet, all that. But then I realized their eyes are implicated in this too.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I thought I'd pitch to you guys, like, where do you think everything would need to be in order to do that?
Ooh. Zero, do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'm not great with names or parts of the body or anything like that, but if you gotta wherever part of the brain produces the signals to send to those parts of the body to receive that information is what you need to intercept. You need to find exactly where it comes from and then find the perfect point in which you can intercept it in order to get what you want out of it.
Agreed.
So,
So
oh,
you
go ahead,
need to
Drew.
center on that part that produces the signal.
So when I was watching that, to kind of see from me looking at that and how everything was kind of being interacted with, um, I would have to say yes, it would have that, but the nerve system, the dive system that they were using, compared to the one that they used near the end of season 2, and so on and so on, um, they did even say that it did a brain scan in the very beginning. And then they also said too that while it was scanning it, it was having you do the weird stretches so that it can get used to your body implications. So I would say that the eyes were there, there was the visor there, so they might have done a retinal scan. But I think 90% of it would have probably been on the brain itself. Once they did the brain scan, they found out where all the neural path links were. That's all that they would really need would just be the headpiece.
Yeah. Well, actually, just started thinking about it now. As far as the eyes and everything, because I was like, technically, because I think it's your retina that connects like directly to your brain back there. I was like, well, how would you intercept that? But I think the key, and it shows this at the end of the first half of season 1. Every character, when you see them awaken, they do just that: is they awaken, so their eyes go from a closed to an open. As long as your eyes are closed, you're not receiving a signal to your brain. So all it would have to do is send a signal to that part of the brain, and because your eyes have now essentially been disabled, it just projects it in your brain, interprets it as vision.
You could emulate it as a dream state where, dreams feel so real at times. You feel like you're literally in a different world. Like you physically, it is your world until you wake up.
Yeah, I almost want to say just because of the VR systems that exist now that you have to have your eyes open, I almost wonder where it's the boot up sequence. The boot up sequence, they have their eyes closed because of how bright and flashy all that is. So they have their eyes closed, but when everything starts, I would like to believe that you wouldn't have that visor there just to keep your eyes closed. I want to say the visor is there that, you open your eyes as everything kicks off, and then you're able to see the world as it is. Because with the Oculus, that's, the Oculus VR and the PlayStation, that's what it is currently in today's standards, at least over here, that you have the headset, you see it, and you're able to do the little tweaking and everything like that, and it gets all the sensors that are on the body pieces. But I want to say that it has to more has to do with the eyes that anime did not say. Like you said, that the eyes, you can't see anything if they're not open.
Yeah. Okay. The second thing that I have written down here, I actually think I'm going to skip because it doesn't really have too much talking on it all that much.
I mean, it doesn't mean we can't talk about it.
Yeah, if you want.
Okay. How do you think the body would react to artificial stimulation as far as dystrophy and how they counteract it? Because in the series, I mean, if you see the end of the first half of season 1, you see Kirito get up, and he's frail. You know what I mean? But if you look at Asuna, the entire time that she's under the effects while she's in Alfheim, notice her body did not dystrophy at all. How do you think they counteracted that?
I have that.
Is her family rich?
Yeah, I was going to say I have that, and I thought about that looking at that point. where if you look at the difference of the hospital and the technological uh, devices that they had in that hospital differences. Kirito's was just a basic hospital.
True.
You
And
just had the little heart
Asuna's
monitor.
family
You
is
saw the little cord
rich, I
plugged
believe,
into it.
right?
Um, and then you had the
Asuna's
little
family is well off, right?
yeah,
Right? I'm pretty
Yes,
sure she.
very
Okay,
well
so
off.
she's going to be in a more technologically advanced, way more expensive hospital. I'm not saying it would 100% counteract, like say, dystrophy, but she'd be better off.
yeah.
Okay, I guess.
Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say, and that's why I put in how to counteract it. How do you think they did? Because obviously they did.
Hmm.
I mean, I have my own personal theory,
I
but
I would say probably what your theory is would probably end up being correct, even without hearing it. I mean, technology, unfortunately, is better for the more wealthy.
well, as far as a particular way to counteract it, I would say direct electronic stimulation,
Yep.
almost like putting something.
Oh, sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, electrical muscle stimulation is something you could do so that the muscles they're being zapped and they're trying to fire the electrons in the body to make them work. I had to have that when
Constantly
I had a
moving the muscles while laying down, right?
yeah, I had to have that when I had a back injury that they tweaked. They zapped the back and they were working those muscles out to try to loosen them and make sure they were still being worked.
Okay.
And the intensity level, it can go from very low to very high, but I'm assuming that with them being knocked out and they can't necessarily feel anything that was going on, um I want to say that they probably had it pretty high. Especially for Asuna, I think that because her family was rich, they had the technology. Plus, I think they said her dad was working for the or worked with the company or was tied to it in some way or a competitor.
Tied to the hospital? Yeah.
I believe he was. I believe he was.
He was tied to the company, or tied to a competitor company for the VR system.
He tied the hospital in some way.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Was he on the board, maybe? Was he on the
I think
board,
so.
maybe?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
But
I think so.
I want to say to
I can't
answer your
exactly
question,
remember.
my
I can't
end is
exactly
I
rewatch.
think
Have to
just
rewatch.
she was more rich, and they were able to have all the stuff for her. But I do want to go back to something that Casey did say, that there is absolutely zero way with how that guy was that skinny he should have been able to walk out of that bed at the end of that anime.
Agreed.
Well, you got to remember too. It's an anime. They're gonna do that weird shit.
Well, not just that, but it was that specific scene was a emotion invoker. Because it's like this guy is the weakest of the weak right now, and he hauled himself out of his hospital bed for the woman that he was in love with. Like it was that very kind of pull at your heartstrings feel. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter that you've been laying down in bare bones conditions. You just got your ass up because you need to go see this girl. Like I think it was more drawn to like overcoming your limits because of love, and I'm really that.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I've
I
seen
mean,
a lot of
you could
TV
go with
shows
the
and
whole
anime
thing
do
of he
that.
was going off the adrenaline, and we could have seen that once the screen kind of faded away. I would like to think that the reason that it faded away at that point where he's walking down the hallway is because he fell. They just didn't want us to see that he had the adrenaline to go, but he fell. That's me because adrenaline can only get you so far.
Sure.
So hopefully that answered that talking point for you, my friend.
Well, see, and I love that you bring up this point because you're like, there's not much talking involved. I'm like, no, we're gonna talk about this, and that was at least 5 minutes, at least.
I'm glad that I'm bringing up good points. I was writing them this morning, and I'm like, I don't know if these are going to be good. Excuse me.
Man, when it concerns us, you bring up whatever the heck you want to talk about. Let's go for it. Let's just dive into the bush. Don't beat around it. Dive right in.
I get it. He said
right.
dive.
Dive. Monkey bone.
So the next one that I had is, or the next few that I have, I think these are the last ones that I have, but I feel that these can go so many different directions because it's more variable, and that's under the psyche category. So my next question was, or not question, but topic was how the players reacted to different events and emotions evoked by the system. And so, for example, the suicides, giving up, specifically for giving up, I wanted to focus because he explained himself a lot more. A lot of the characters, you just kind of had to go by what they did.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But the one who really personified the giving up was the old man who was fishing.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you remember that character.
Yep. That's
I do.
floor 22. Floor 22. Yes. It's the lake level, and that was the old guy that worked on the security system for SAO.
Correct.
Yeah, and didn't he just decide, you know what, I'm just going to retire here, live out the rest of my life here because I don't see us getting out? Because he did the security for the system, he knew how it worked, and he was just thinking, I don't see us getting out, so I'm just going to retire here.
Well, there was a quote, I believe it was Asuna who said it to him, was, I felt that every day we had in here I lost in the real world, but in reality I gained a day just here.
Yeah, I believe that was her because he was like, I don't care if I die or not in here. There's not much to live for out there, and she was pretty much saying, look, yes, we have the life in here right now, and we don't know how long we'll have, but enjoy the moments you have because these are still happening to us, whether they're real or not. That you should embrace it as part of your life and not give up on the life on the outside.
So bravado aside, I mean, we're all guys here. We all have a little bit of bravado. But how do you think you would personally react to a situation like that? Where if you die, you're dead. You're gone.
Well, you got to look at it in the way of life as it is now. I mean, we make a certain reaction in a certain situation, we're done, Like when you're standing on top of a building and you're looking down and there's this voice in the back of your head for some weird reason, even though you never do it, says jump. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you did do it, it's just like if you were in that world, you're going to die. You're not coming back from that. So
well, I think Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I think that's true to an extent because like you have that added pressure though of everyone that you've ever known and loved is in the real world. You are now put in a situation where if you ever want to see them again, someone has to complete this game. And I can only imagine the mental stress of like you're just seeing this slow progress, and it really becomes a do I want to just wait it out and play it safe, or do I want to try and be that person? And especially with the full dive system and sword skills, and being able to do things that your body normally couldn't do, it really invokes that gamble of, do I try this?
And see that is true too, because in that world you can do a lot more. I mean, granted, in the real world you can do quite a bit, but in that world you can do a hell of a lot more than what you could ever do in real life. Like, Kirito was smart. He knew how to game. He knew everything about it. He played it since beta. And he had the knowledge to take it as far as he could, but he also had the strong enough willpower to go, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to do the best that I can. Granted, he had his lows and his ups, but he made it out. Granted, everybody who survived had the mental stress that they had gone through. But without somebody who has the knowledge and the skill and the willpower to move forward, you're just stuck.
Well, I love that you pointed out that he had the knowledge. There is another scene that I think very clearly displays this when he was attacked after getting the flower for Silica to resurrect her dragon. And he's like, 400, I forget the number, it's like 418. That's how much damage you can do. But my regeneration is this. He's like, we can stand here all day and you're not going to do anything to me. Like most players don't think that way, but the fact that he was able to, in the heat of a fight, just be like, numbers. Go ahead, continue. Bring it on. Like, he's on such a different level than even I would say even most MMO RPG players nowadays, like to be able to crunch those numbers, stay cool, and not let it just the panic come over you. I think says not only a lot about his personality, but his knowledge as a gamer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he took his knowledge, and because of the situation he was in and everyone else was in, implemented it into technically his real life. Because, like you said, with his regeneration, fighting an enemy who can't outmatch his regeneration, he goes, "Yeah, this ain't real life, bud. I'm not gonna die. You go ahead, do your thing." Uh, he took his knowledge that step further and was like, I know I'm in a gaming world, and I know I can actually die, but if I play it smart, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I want to say, in that point though, it kind of goes with the psychological point that he inevitably did realize it closer to the end of the first half of season 1, where he's like, this whole time I've been just thinking about this, that this is a game and not really accepting the reality of the situation. And he did come by inevitably going, I need to stop thinking about this as a game and realize there are people's lives on the line. Because, you look in the beginning, it's exactly like that. He made his friend Clyde. Claude? Was it Claude or Clyde? I think it was Clyde.
I think it was Clyde.
And then he ran
Cline.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't want you to go. I don't want you to die, but, good luck. But if you look at the rest of the time, too, he's like, yeah, I don't care. I can take this. I can handle this. Like you said with that scene, you guys are player killers. You guys can keep hitting me as much as you want, but this is how much I have with all those stats. And it wasn't until inevitably he started getting hurt that he started going, oh shit, I need to start looking at this in a different limelight. Especially with Asuna, when they started doing their thing, is like, now I have something I need to live for, and the friends he was making along the way is like, I really need to live for them, for these people cannot do what I should be able to do. So I want to say that I know season 1 you see it, and then season 2, the only thing I'll mention about season 2 and probably further on is you do start to see more of the psychological aspects of how that world really affected all of those people.
Because they continue to play games from that point on as if their life was at stake.
Exactly. Manako Queen just put it out exactly. What really changed Kirito's viewpoints in that was as soon as he lost his guild. When his guild left or died, that's when he started punishing himself, and he realized, I need to stop thinking about this in that way of, this is just the game world anymore. I need to focus on everything. That's a rough question to think about. How do you think you would do in that situation? I would like to say that you're going into this game and this is where this world's how this is gonna be. You're stuck with kind of like three options realistically. One, you could off yourself and just say, screw this, I can't face this reality, this is too much. Two, you could be one of those people that set up shop or just kind of lived on one of the levels that got unlocked and just stayed in the town, it's a possibility. A lot of people's like, I know I can't do this. I can't mentally handle the fear of dying on the battlefield and do that. Or you could be the third option, which is all these people who knew that they could take the top floor. That's what they're going to do. They're going to fight because either A, they don't really have anything left to live for, or B, they just want to beat this to get out of here because they're still thinking of the game.
And see, like me personally, how I would react, because obviously I know how I would react. I'd be similar to Kirito in a way where at first it'd be in disbelief, kind of like someone you're really close to passes. You're in disbelief. You don't believe they're gone. You don't believe you're in the situation that you're in, and so you just continue through it as if nothing happened. And then at some point you just flip and you realize, oh shit, I need to take this a different way. I need to figure this out. and how I'm going to go about the rest of the way.
Well, I think what really crushed Kirito too was the episode with I can't remember the character's name, the creature's name, but basically the evil Saint Nick, where he was able to find the revival item. I think that was what fully crushed him about midway through the season, was like, I have this chance to resurrect my friend, and that reality finally sat in that that's not the case anymore.
And then
There is no do-over.
Yeah, because not only that too. I think what definitely changed him after that is when he got delivered that message from her. At the very end too, it's like, hey, I understand this was short, but I think that was because by that point he kind of accepted fate, and he's just like, I'm just gonna either off myself or live in this thing and just let myself rot away. But her message, I would like to say that kind of pushed him forward. You know what I mean? It's like, look, you can save other
definitely.
people.
I definitely agree with that.
But
without her,
to Shaggy's point,
message, I don't think he would have continued.
Oh, I was gonna say, Shaggy, to your point though, to your question, what route would you choose at that point?
Again, with the bravado, I would love to say that I would be that person that would fight. Naturally, though, I'm not really a fighter. I think what would happen, honestly, is I'd probably be that person that would set up shop, and I think the only way I'd be able to live with myself is to be someone who, like Liz, that provided armaments to the people on the front line. Because if I was doing nothing, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would need some way of me helping, like whether it's just providing arms or support for food in the towns or something. I couldn't just sit there and not do anything like that. At that point I probably would. If I wasn't doing anything, I was unalive myself.
Zero, what would you do?
See, it's a very hard decision, like you were saying, bravado and whatnot. But I think at first it'd be hard for me to believe that I'm in a situation and still treating it as a game until I hit a certain point where I realize that okay, this is real. I need to figure out what I'm gonna do, and based on what my skill level was and what I could personally do and where I could take it, would actually influence my decision. I couldn't tell you actually what I would do. It would just be based on the situation I was in at that current time. If my skill level I felt wasn't high enough, I'd either train harder or I'd do what Shaggy did and I'd open up a shop or do something to help others to do something I know I couldn't do. Because I couldn't live with myself if I did nothing.
See, the problem with me, if I would end up in there, is I don't want to take the bravado route. But the problem is just kind of instilled into me of how I've grown up. I have always been what is dubbed a protector. So I couldn't sit still. I wouldn't be able to. Yes, I could do this stuff and make armor and sit down and stuff. I would probably end up on the front lines at that point. Not saying to toot my own horn, but I'm just so much of a protector that if I have to put my life on the line to keep someone safe, I probably would end up in that way to save people or try to lessen that mental damage to them.
Okay.
And I do want to say, I think it is very funny that all three of us have chose all different kind of style answers to this point. I'm glad none of us chose the option one. I'm not going to lie to that.
Yeah. I can't take that option. Because to me that would be the same as doing nothing.
Yeah.
That would be the same as doing nothing and never giving the opportunity to do something. You know what I mean? That would be like the ultimate greedy way to do things. I couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just couldn't. I could not. I would like to assume though that if I would probably have ended up as a beta tester at that point, like Kirito. I would just assume a few of us probably would have ended up. Shaggy, I put it. You and I probably would have ended up beta testers.
Oh, I'm telling you right now, the only time I've never been a beta tester ever is because no one told me the information about doing a beta test. If you guys knew about it, I'd expect you to tell me so I could do it too, because I'm not going to say no to an opportunity like that.
Absolutely.
Shaggy.
Okay, I mean, come on. If I could have beta tested Elder Scrolls Online, I'd have been heartbeat, dude. Heartbeat.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can't. The only thing I brag about is I've tested all the new Dooms. So, huzzah!
Oh,
Yeah,
that's bragging.
Bethesda liked me for Doom.
So
They're
let
going to
me
like me for Elder Scrolls. I need to get on that.
let me flip the script a little bit here. So we talked about how we would, psychologically deal with everything, right?
hmm
So on the same coin, how do you think things might have been different if Yui would have been able to carry out her base function? Would they have been different at all?
If what?
If Yui would have been able to carry out her base function, the daughter.
Oh, if
Because
she
you
would have been
remember
able to
she,
carry, if she would have been able to carry out her base function, because
which
her
was
base
to be
function,
an emotional support.
yeah, her thing was supposed to try to help kind of guide and ease the mental strain on all of the people.
Like, do you think it would have helped? Wouldn't have helped? How do you feel about that?
Had she been successful in carrying out her base function, I think more people would have fought.
I
Now,
People would have been less scared.
I would agree with that to an extent, just because of how ridiculous of a scenario you put yourself in. I mean, you can have the best mental help support that you got, but if they say, "Hey, you die, you die," that's a lot of strain.
yeah, but I
Mm-hmm.
think if she was able to do everything, she probably could have talked her way through a lot of those people that committed suicide in that. That she could have probably go, look, you can't fight and you can't take that strain. That's fine. Look, here are these places you can go set up your own home or your own place. You can at least live here with other people. I think if I personally think that there probably would have been a less of a mortality rate
I agree.
than there was in the show, because I think what they say, like at the very end of the series, only like 2,000 people were left from SAO.
Yeah, I think only 2,000 survivors. Yeah.
And it was a huge, huge turnout in the very beginning. That the fact that 2,000 was left, and they said so many people committed suicide that again she could have walked them through it easily.
Well, even if you remember the series, it even shows lines of people. It was like suicide booths, where like a person would jump, a person would stand up behind them, they'd jump. There were lines
Yeah,
for people to off themselves. Like it's just mind blowing to think that that's actually like there was that much despair.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I did pick this up because I was curious on the fact. They said during the first month of the game, it was 2,000 people uh, committed suicide or died in the very beginning of the game. And I would assume that they don't really explain that probably easily had to have been the suicides.
Yeah.
Easily had to.
But they did have a survival number, though. I can't remember what the number was, but they had a survival number, and it was significantly lower than the people who had joined the game.
You know what? Let me look that up real quick.
I was about to do the same thing, actually. Well, because I know there was at least 30, because that's the amount that what's his face took over.
There was
was 30.
6,147 survivors of SAO.
And how many joined the game?
I don't think it ever says. I don't think it ever discloses that.
Okay,
I mean,
because I swear it
we
did.
can get a reasonable number just because of the fact that like look at when a game like COD launches,
Hmm.
you have hundreds of thousands, if not close to the millions of players.
So yeah, if you look at over 66,000 survivors, 2,000 were suicides supposedly. That's over 8,000 players, and then you got to look at the player killer guilds that killed people randomly, and then the people who died because of the game itself.
Hmm.
I would assume probably over 10,000 players minimum.
I would like to say yes with that'd be the case, because the other fact I'm finding that after SAO was done, there was, this is saying 300 people survived or were trapped in SAO, but I think it was 200. But no,
Trapped in the second half of the season.
what's that? Yeah,
Are you
second.
saying in the second half of the season?
Yeah, second half of the season, because after everyone got out, and then the whole, ugh, I that's a psychological point I have to talk about when we're done with the talking points. Oh my god. What was your next talking point, Shaggy?
That was basically it. I was at one point I put explore different characters' responses to events SAO and how they carried over multiple parts of the series.
Hmm.
My main focus on that one is Kirito because, as we said, he had all this knowledge and was such a hero in the first half. In the second half, there's that scene where right before he talks to Akihiko Kaiba and gets the admin key, where he's like, "Am I being punished for thinking that I was something that I wasn't?" And it's like he went from this kind of unsure, or kind of cocky to unsure to cocky again, and then you arrive at that scene, and he's just like, "What did I do? What have I done?" Like just the amount of up and down in one season for this, for this character is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like the amount of mental strain on a normal person. I mean, Kirito must have to be very strong mentally to go through it because that much up and down. I mean, granted, there's a lot of up and down in life, but being faced with death as a 16-year-old multiple times every day. Like, granted, I mean, one could make the argument, well, we face death every day. We do, because there are hazards in life, but not like that. Not like you walk out, I don't have to worry about, walking out of my town and a dragon's going to swoop down and eat me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they were in constant, I can only imagine the constant fear.
Yeah, easily. Um, I gotta say the whole in the psychological aspects and the implications of it. Um, I will say, as an overall of season one, it was very interesting to see from a psychological point of all the characters kind of psychological changing throughout the series. Each of them did, but like you said, the biggest psychological change was Kirito from the very beginning. Oh, it's a game,
yeah.
it's a game. Okay, cool. I'm not gonna die. I don't care about other people. Meets the guild, the Black Cats. They die because he realized he should have stopped them. Then he tries to resurrect them, um, and that he fails. That fails, and then he finally starts to go. You know what? I need to try to get at least other people out of this world that can't fight for themselves. And he slowly meets people that kind of opens him up because in the beginning, he was a very broody person. He was a loner and all that. And then when he finally faced the loss and the reality, then he started opening up, becoming a little bit more friendly and open. And especially, again, I only mention this once because this was in season 2. You finally got to see a huge psychological PTSD moment of the player guild, the Laughing Coffin. That's a huge,
That laughing coffin character that's got the grudge.
Yep, yeah.
Oh yeah, oh my goodness, especially during Gun Gale and then after.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the VR system being implemented, I didn't want to get that out of the way because I was so excited about that point because I can talk to psychological point for a while. I would like to say that inevitably we are going to reach that VR style. We will reach that VR Inevitably, there are some places that have them here in the United States that are kind of that immersive. You got the rigs and all of that, and the green screens and everything. But I want to say that Japan will more than likely be the ones to get it first. I hands down think it because
more than likely, and they'll get the beta and all that shit.
Because not nothing against us, but the United States, but they focus heavily on education and they got a huger technological boost over there that it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. And do I fear in a point could something like this happen at that point? Easily. It just takes the programmer or a hacker or something like that to do something like this. It's a high possibility that it could happen. I don't know if it would be maybe this big of an extent. That's also a high possibility. But in today's society, I think VR, when it's not tampered with, could be a beneficial thing to some people. Because, you could have someone who can't embrace the world, can't get out of a wheelchair or something like that, that this gives them that chance to, experience some form of the world.
Like when we play a normal video game, even though it's not VR, this gives us the chance to have our escape, to be who we want to be without an actual consequence, to be someone we've always wanted to be, like essentially our true self, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, something that always hit me with the series is I have a sibling that has CP, so they have difficulty walking,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like how cool would something like this be? Where like they can go into this rig, and then all of a sudden you're not limited by your body, like because all those brain processes are there, just not everything's not firing correctly. Then you jump into something like this, and it's like I can only imagine what it would be like to run uninhibited for the first time. Like, just there's so much potential with VR. There's so much potential for good, and there's so much potential for bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's with a lot of things, but especially with VR.
Yeah. And like you said, that with the psychological point, the anime, I want to say that anime had a lot of, just season one, a lot of psychological points of, you know, okay, people are going to kill you, they're going to kill the guilds and everything, and either they're going to completely snap and just, they'll kill one on person on accident and snap and just embrace the insanity at that point, which I think 90% of Laughing Coffin was. Um, or when you have people that survive the world, you're going to have that PTSD that came out of it. There's a points where, I think it was the first episode of the second half of season one where he's training with his cousin with the swords, and he tries to put it on his back, and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's just a force of habit that's going to take getting used to." And then, there's inevitably another point too where he's starting to see the kind of characters in real life, and that has to do with that point of you're in there for so long, what other ramifications are going to be in there? Are you going to be able to differentiate reality? If he does kendo, is he going to ever be able to put the sword properly on the side like he should, or is he going to go back to the force of habit with all of that?
And see, that's where it brings up the good and the bad of being trapped in a world like this. Yeah, we've referenced bad a lot, but if you look at the way he was fighting when he was practicing the kendo, if that's exactly what he was practicing, I'm not proficient. But
It was
like you said, thank you, force of habit, right? Well, who's to say, yeah, he can't do like crazy abilities, but he brought his swordsmanship skills from the game to real life. He has the knowledge and he's capable of performing the moves the human body is capable of performing. So granted, he wasn't in there for very long, but in the gaming world, he was probably in there for years. He's got these multiple years of experience fighting and training. But in his child body, he has that experience he learned. And that could happen in any form too. Like you got the crafters. They come out of that game knowing how to craft something because it was like a real world experience. So they could do it in real life if they wanted to.
Well, I would take that to an extent because, as shown by Awesomeness Cooking, when you max out a level, it's just literally take a knife, tap it on something, and it cuts up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do
So
agree.
I'd be curious to see if they had to actually do smithing steps, and then it got to a point where they could just tap something and it did it automatically, almost like any game when you're doing cooking and you master something. Like I'm using Genshin Impact for an example. You have a little meter, and if you get it enough times it perfect, then you can do auto cook. Is it like that where if you've crafted so many things manually, it gets to a point where you can just do that one hit and it becomes, you know what I'm saying? It becomes a high tier item.
Given the fact that games become more and more realistic as time goes on, yeah, they're in a like sped up fashion, you could say, like you're saying. But like if someone's practicing like you or me being a crafter at first in the game, I would assume it would teach us all the steps necessary intricately to make it. And then once you become proficient at a certain level, the game just lets you automatically go, oh, I made it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I would have to agree.
I, I have to agree with Shaggy on that though, on a yes and a no, because crafting and cooking in those games, yes, in the very beginning you might have to take your time and chop everything up, and you slowly learn what part's good and what aren't bad. Now, the part of learning what part of the food is good and what's bad to keep, I can see that knowledge passing over into the world and being memorized,
Yes.
and the right angles to cut everything. I can see that, but maybe with crafting I could see something as like, okay, this is the better hide, this is the better way of the sewing, and smaller skills techniques like that I can definitely see transferring. But if you do a comparison via like fighting style like Kirito was, that's all becoming that when he's in the world, yeah, it's all becoming muscle memory to him in its own way. That for 2 years I think he was in the game,
Yes.
SAO, that for 2 years he kept fighting with a sword. Like even when he came out in the real world and played with the kendo stick, he goes, "Oh, this is really light." And his cousin's like, "How is this light? This is heavy. This is like 10, 15 pounds or something like that." But his brain is recognizing that he's held heavier swords for 2 years
Yeah.
because the game's telling you, "Hey, this is the muscle or the weight load of that item." So something like that I can see transferring into reality versus certain skills. Now, I would like to say a very good example of skills you learn in real life or in the game that transferred over was his buddy that ran the shop. He ran the item
Yeah.
shop, and then he
Agio.
transferred it over into using all those skills of business management and all of that into the real world and made the dice game cafe, and that's pretty popular enough, which was established because he took all those skills. But I would like to say I think there's a
Agreed.
limit of what could transfer over, at least in my opinion.
Well, I'm not gonna say it's yeah, you can transfer everything. I can agree. There is a limit based on game limitations.
Hmm.
Well, there's even a scene right after they practice kendo where he says, "Apparently, I can't use sword skills in real life, and my footwork sucked." So he knew inherently that his footwork was bad.
Yeah.
So he's learning the limitations of what he brought over. Like it just in that short little blurb, which can be very easily overlooked in the series.
Hmm.
He was learning to come to terms with, I can do this, I can't do this. Where can I meet these in the middle to be applicable?
Exactly. And uh, there's just so much that would change in the very beginning, and it is a huge situation that was right there. You notice your brain recognizes the footwork. Your brain recognized everything else with everything else that was going on. It's wholeheartedly, I agree with that.
Now, in this moment, did you have any other points you wanted to address?
No, I actually do not.
Okay. No, I'm not trying to rush you at all. If you have nothing else, Caboose, did you have anything you wanted to bring up?
No. I do want to say, for Sword Art Online, for a first time watching it, it was definitely, definitely a reality difference there, and it definitely is a good anime to show a psychological um just a good psychological anime to show you the implications of what this could do in long-term effects. Something like this can do to the brain. I'm still trying to finish the series of what's out, but there's some people that it really didn't affect them very much, and there's some people that it did affect, and I think that is something that was overlooked completely that shouldn't be, you know.
I would have to say my first time watching it, I didn't pay too much attention to it, but when you brought it up to me,
Mm-hmm.
when I was rewatching it this time, it's changed a lot of how I viewed the series.
Yeah,
And not in a negative way either.
well, because there's a lot of there's a lot of psychological points that kind of were overlooked. Like you said, it was very minuscule. It goes, oh well, the footwork was off. That's not right. Or the trying to put the sword behind his back, or seeing the PTSD that happened later. There's a lot of stuff that did change, and it's quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely an anime with multiple layers to go back, rewatch. Like it's rewatchability in my opinion is 10 out of 10.
Yeah, yeah,
There's so much more to always go back and re-glean.
exactly. 100% do I agree with that. But for season one and talking about the VR system, Shaggy, I want to say that this was a very fun one for me because I've never seen this. I didn't have any viewpoints to be able to watch this, and I went into it fresh and I got to look at everything. So to me, I had a blast with this one. And I know I messaged you a lot talking about all the psychological things that were happening.
And you're going to continue to too once you get further into the series.
Yes, yeah. I'm going to continue watching this. Do not worry about that at all. This series is going to keep staying on my radar, and I will finish the series, and I'll probably watch the movies as well. Shaggy, typically, because we are hitting the end of this, typically what we like to do at the end, we like to do what we call a little nerd update. That we take something that we saw that came out, or we just kind of talk about quickly something pop culture wise, or it could be a channel update or anything. And we always let the guests go first. Like, even if you wanted to shout out your channel or promote something you're doing, you can do that as well.
Well, as far as nerd news, and I know I talked with you about this a little bit before the podcast. Redfall is coming out May 2nd, people. If you have a PC or an Xbox and have Game Pass, it is free. Go ahead, download it. I know that I will probably day one that comes out, if not day one, whatever day coincides with my channel. That's going to be the next thing I'm streaming. So if you guys are interested in seeing gameplay of it, I will be doing that. Also, I'm about 20 followers away from releasing merch. I'm going to be hopefully getting that out right at 200 followers. I'm at 180. Other than that, thank you.
Congrats,
It's been a kind of crazy. Starting on YouTube and having like one or two people watching, and then having so many more people come and just make this journey possible. I never thought, I'd be making money playing video games. And so that's my last update. Hey, Mom! I'm making money playing video games.
But Redfall is that new vampire video game, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, now is that only first person, or are you able to switch between third and first?
I think
I don't know yet.
I think it will probably just be first person, because it's like Sword Art Online or not Sword Art Online. Wow, I'm talking about that, and it's like it's gonna be like Left 4 Dead basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Real quick, Shaggy, your wife is mad you didn't shout her out.
Oh, Shaggy, come on now.
Oh no. And none of this would be possible without my beautiful mod and wife, maniacally clean.
Haha.
Come on, she's so maniacal she can't even show up behind you in the background.
No, she's there. She is there.
I saw a shadow. That's all I saw.
She's there.
Hi.
Your wife's a shadow.
She's the shadow that makes everything possible.
Hi.
Zero, do you have any nerd updates?
Actually, for the Power Rangers community, the 30th anniversary special dropped 2 days ago. And if you're interested in the comics, issue number 107 dropped at the same time. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check it out. The special's on Netflix. It's a 55-minute commercialless special. It's fantastic. I'm gonna end up watching it again.
I love the opposite spectrums we're going on this. So my nerd update on this is they dropped a freaking trailer for Godzilla X Kong New Kingdom comes out next year. So it's a teaser trailer.
Hey.
I don't know if it's animated, but it says it's going to be in theaters, so I hope it's another live action. If you have not seen that trailer, you need to go on YouTube and watch this because Team Godzilla for life, baby. I'm sorry, but need me some more monster mashes.
I'm sure you're going to force me to watch it at some point, so I'll just wait for you to do
I
send me the link on that.
Podcast-wise, we're still working on the T-shirt thing. Shaggy, I have talked to you that you are going to be our first guest that will get the shirt. We are going to be doing something interesting where the staff will have our own shirts, guests will getting their own unique shirts, and when we get the regular designs for the shirt, we're going to have every shirt run that we have or merch will be a limited run, and then we are going to switch it. Casey, don't go AO. You get a staff shirt. You get your staff shirt. Don't.
Oh, yes, you do.
You
sorry, Caboose. But for everybody who doesn't know, I don't know who would know. Me and Caboose are the only ones who don't have this naming scheme, but anybody who works with us is having a Time Lord based name, so get ready for that.
So we are doing them. Shaggy, Casey, you guys will be getting those as soon as we test run them. But like we said, shirts are going to be the very first thing that we test with out. And when we get the T-shirts, I think we said between like 15 or 20 shirts, we're going to set a cap number. And once those go, they're not going to have the same design anymore. We are going to change them every single time. Staff shirts and guest shirts those will stay the same as they are.
Yeah. So the first 20 people who want shirts, that's the design you're going to get until we set a time limit in which we stop them, or we hit 20, and then we convert to a new style, and that's just how we'll keep running them, and that's depending on demand.
Sweet.
Yep. So I know there's been people that asked. That is your update on that. Thank you for the patience with that too. It's been taking a little bit because other life has gone away. We have another person to the team who is making all those designs for us, and we cannot wait to show those to you. Don't talk to me in the collectibles. I'll go broke.
Don't worry. The designers got this.
Yeah, the designers have this. But Shaggy, I really hope you had a fun time with this podcast. I hope that the nerves that you had in the beginning have completely gone and you had a blast with us.
I had an absolutely great time.
And I really hope you would like to come back again too. There's plenty. We could talk all 3 seasons of SAO. We could talk Borderlands, a whole podcast. There's sky's the limit. We always like to ask if people want to come back, and hopefully you are definitely one of them that wants to come back.
Oh, 10 out of 10 want to come back. This was a blast.
Well, with
awesome sauce. And I hope you go Ultra Instinct next time.
With that, we usually like to end the podcast with our outros, however we do them. So on my end, thank you very much, and as always, till the next one.
Thank you, everybody, and may the power protect you.
Shaggy streaming. See you on the next one.